Jaws begins with a scene that has stuck with me ever since I was a child. We see a group of teenagers gathered around a campfire, smoking, drinking, having a good time, when a young boy and a young girl's eyes meet. The attraction is instant, and the girl takes off. Now, thinking it's going to get laid, the young boy takes off after her. The two begin to shed their clothes and eventually arrive at the ocean for a late night skinny dip and probably followed by some sexual intercourse. Up until now, we've been following this boy and girl on land, but suddenly our vision is taken underwater and we look at the girl. We study her through the eyes of a predator. She's young, she's beautiful, she's sexual. She didn't have a prayer. Few scenes have such a cold morality. Few scenes are so disturbingly primal. But few movies mix the primal, the natural, and the commercial so effectively as this film. For better or for worse, this classic piece of American cinema changed how movies are made and marketed forever. In order to examine how, we have to go back and take a closer look at the film Jaws. Jaws is based on Peter Benchley's best-selling novel about a giant man-eating shark that terrorizes a small beach community. When it came to directing a film version of the story, the job fell to a talented young director named Steven Spielberg. Now, Spielberg was an up-and-coming director who had made an impact with his made-for-TV thriller, Duel. Now, I could spend this whole video talking about the making of Jaws and all the different production aspects around it, but I want to focus on the finished product. I always felt that Jaws had a very disciplined use of sound. More than just background noise, Jaws' soundtrack actually conditions the audience how to respond to the film. In order to understand this, I have to give you a few terms from film studies. There are two kinds of sounds you hear in a film. One is called diegetic sound. The other is called non-diegetic sound. Now, diegetic sounds are the sounds whose source is visible on screen, or whose source is implied to be present by the action of the film. For example, in Jaws, the sound of the phone ringing in the sheriff's home, or the sounds of people talking on the beach. Diegetic sounds are sounds being made by either the characters or objects in the world of the film. Now, non-diegetic sound is a little different. Non-diegetic sounds are sounds that come from outside the film. These are sounds whose source are neither visible on screen nor heard by the characters. For example, voiceover narration, or in the case of Jaws, the mood music that accompanies the shark attacks. So in the first half of Jaws, we see a deliberate mixing of these two types of sounds. On land, the sounds of the film are mostly diegetic. These are the sounds of the hustle and bustle of the beach community. When we move to water, the sound structure of the movie changes. The music is added from outside the film. In this case, we hear composer John Williams' now infamous score, which indicates danger is approaching. Now, during the production of the film, the mechanical shark named Bruce was malfunctioning, leaving the filmmakers to make a monster movie without a monster. The filmmakers overcame this problem by replacing the visual effect of a rubber shark with the audio effect of non-diegetic music. This may seem like a minor point, but this use of sound and music conditions the audience to associate water with danger. The water becomes something menacing. Keep in mind, at this point in the film, we haven't even seen the shark. Now it's here at the film's halfway mark that the sheriff and two other men decide to take a boat, set out to sea, and kill the shark. Now I think it's this dynamic between these three characters that gives the film Jaws its bite. Even though these are three separate characters, in a way they represent the two conflicting sides of a human mind. What's important is that these three characters all have emotional ties to the water. To start with, we have the sheriff, who's afraid of the water and is one of the only characters in the film that never goes in the water at all. Perhaps this can be traced back to some fear rooted in some kind of childhood trauma. Next, we have the character of Hooper, who's a marine biologist played by Richard Dreyfuss. Now, in an early scene, we're told his love of the ocean and of marine life can be traced back to an event in his childhood, where his father killed a giant shark on a fishing trip. Of all the characters, Hooper is the most cerebral, more driven by the mind and the brain, and wants to study sharks. He approaches the endeavor with his mind, suggesting that they should try and poison the shark rather than just trying to shoot it. But next we have the character of Quint, played with visible relish by actor Robert Shaw. Now Quint is the complete opposite of the Hooper character. Quint is more physical, aggressive, more driven by instinct rather than by intellect. And as the shark hunt continues, we realize that Quint may even be a little crazy.
Excuse me, Chief.
Like the other men, Quint has had a traumatic experience with the sea during a World War II shipwreck, one which he recounts in one of the film's most powerful scenes. Our hero will have to merge these two conflicting aspects of the mind in order to kill the shark. Now, during the film's climax, we don't just see great editing or great filmmaking. The scene exemplifies the raw mythology of the film, as our hero is alone and must merge intellect and instinct in order to slay the monster.
Smile, you son of a...
To say that Jaws was a hit movie would be an understatement. Jaws was one of the first blockbusters, and it quickly became one of the highest grossing movies ever made. Its success as a summer movie would provide the blueprint for which many future summer movies would be made and marketed. The film's success can be attributed to three things. First, Jaws was one of the first movies to be released on hundreds of screens across the country at the same time. No film had done this before. Second, it was bolstered by a huge marketing campaign, both before and after the film's release. There were commercials, there were t-shirts, there were cups, posters, and just about every other piece of crap you could market to someone. So when Jaws was finally released, it wasn't just a movie, it was like you were participating in part of American culture. Thirdly Jaws is a great suburban adventure. When I say that, it's about extraordinary things happening to very ordinary people. In fact, many of Steven Spielberg's early films like Close Encounters, Poltergeist, and E.T., would take place in the American suburbs. So audiences will look at these films like Jaws, and be able to easily identify with the people and settings on screen. In an interesting side note, the film was so popular that it led to an increase in shark hunting. Now, sharks hadn't killed any more people in 1975 than they had in previous years, but Jaws fever had swept the country, and the killing of sharks became something of a recreational activity. Overall, I think that Jaws is a very good film. It's made about as well as a monster movie can be made. Anyway, thanks for listening. Please post comments on the bottom and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.